Chapter 4. The Meeting. Sang leaned over the windowsill and scanned the street below. He checked for any wandering eyes that might catch him slipping out, especially Fenric's and definitely Vizio's. The last thing he needed was that creature sensing him sneaking around. Most of the late-night stragglers he'd passed on his way into the tavern had already drifted off, leaving the street quiet. The coast looked clear. Sang could have simply leapt from the window. He would have landed as softly as a cat, but he wasn't sure if the spot below was visible from the main floor's window, where Vizio kept its ever-watchful gaze. So instead, he eased himself out onto the wall. Vampires could scale even the smoothest stone as easily as walking across a room, and Sang was no exception. He moved sideways along the tavern's exterior, keeping well out of sight of the lower windows. Once he was certain he wouldn't be seen, he dropped lightly to the ground. A pin hitting the floor would have made more noise. He paused, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no whispers, no shifting shadows. Satisfied, he slipped into the back alleys and began making his way toward the Twin Stars Apothecary. He knew the place well. 2 of his closest friends lived and worked there, the twin siblings Anastasia and Throne Vilmont. Born vampires rather than turned, they were dampires, half human, half vampire. Their mother had been human, their father a vampire they barely remembered. He had left them on King Valcrest's doorstep when they were infants, and the Hollow had raised them ever since. Dampires were different from the cursed undead. They could walk in daylight, possessed most of a vampire's strengths, and only a handful of their weaknesses. They weren't immortal, but they lived for millennia. They weren't as physically powerful as full vampires, but still far stronger and far more dangerous than humans. They needed blood to survive, but in Crimson Hollow, that hunger never clawed at them. Anastasia was a natural-born sorcerer. Magic flowed through her veins like it had been waiting centuries for her arrival. She never studied spells, she simply knew them. Her talent was raw, instinctive, and sometimes unpredictable. She was brassy, wild, and endlessly competitive, especially with Zane. She and Sang had spent countless nights arguing over who the superior magic user truly was. In the end, it always came down to philosophy. Throne, by contrast, was an apothecary, quiet, thoughtful, and steady. If Anastasia was a hurricane, Throne was a gentle autumn breeze. He brewed medicines infused with magical ingredients, and his concoctions had saved more lives than anyone could count. He was the one who had healed Fenric after that basilisk bite near the Silverlight Basin, a lake that shimmered silver under the eternal moonlight of Crimson Hollow. Sang's thoughts drifted as he walked, memories of the twins softening the edges of the night. Before long, the familiar outline of the Twin Stars Apothecary came into view. Sang approached cautiously, eyes sweeping the quiet street. The lights inside the apothecary were dark, but that meant nothing. The twins often worked late into the night, buried in their basement experiments. He drew in a slow breath. A scent drifted past him, cold, earthen, like a cemetery after rain. Familiar, yet wrong. His nerves prickled. Was this a setup? "Anyone there?" he whispered. A faint shuffle answered him from across the cobblestone path. Sang squinted into the shadows, trying to make out a shape. Whatever it was, it gave off no heat, no heartbeat, no blood, just emptiness. Then, without warning, 3 figures burst from the darkness. Floating apparitions of pure dread glided toward him. Each stood roughly 6 feet tall, draped in long, tattered black robes marked with the symbol of the One. Their hoods hid their faces, or so Sang thought. No, there were no faces. Only a single, enormous, gaping mouth carved into an eyeless visage. Wisps of withered, spectral hair spilled from beneath their hoods, drifting like smoke. Terror slammed into Sang, not just from their appearance, but from the sound they emitted. A haunting, discordant chant sung in a language he had never heard. He had faced banshees before, but this was something far more sinister. The Whispering Choir. They floated closer, their song tightening around his mind like a vice. Sang stood frozen, locked in awe and horror. One of the creatures extended a withered hand from its sleeve. His eyes followed it helplessly as it reached for his chest. The hand passed straight through him. Cold fingers wrapped around his undead heart. Agony exploded through his body. Sang screamed and dropped to one knee, the spell of fear breaking only to be replaced by blinding pain. His vision blurred. Consciousness slipped. A new presence entered the alley. Another vampire. He moved like a shadow given form, clad in black studded leather armor. With impossible speed, he struck. Both blades plunged into the sides of the creature's head, or where its head should have been. The apparition shrieked and dissolved into ethereal smoke. Sang gasped, drawing a deep breath he didn't need, feeling as though his unlife had been shoved back into his body.
"Get up and fight, you idiot!"
the stranger barked. That snapped him into motion. Sang drew his rapier and faced the next attacker. It wailed at him, trying to drown him in fear again, but he refused to fall for it twice. He darted left, slipping out of the line of its mouth, assuming that was the source of its power. In a blink, he was at its flank. His rapier struck the creature's arm, making it recoil with a jerking motion. But it retaliated instantly, slashing across Sang's left arm. Burning pain flared. He glanced down. The scratch was eating through his coat, decaying the fabric. He tore the garment off and threw it aside. The stranger was still locked in combat with the third apparition, darting and weaving, but struggling to find an opening. Sang made a risky choice. He sprinted straight at the spectre. It wailed again, fear crashing over him like a wave, but he pushed through, dropping into a slide beneath the floating creature. He came up behind it and leapt with supernatural force. The creature turned, expecting him behind it, but Sang was already above. He fell like a shooting star, driving his rapier straight through the gaping mouth and out the back of its head. The apparition convulsed and dissolved into smoke. Only one remained. Sang dashed to the stranger's side. He didn't know if these things could feel surprise, but he hoped they could, because he wanted to see its reaction as he drove his rapier into the back of its head while the stranger fainted from the front. The creature screeched and evaporated. Silence fell. The immediate threat was gone. Sang turned to the stranger, studying him. Something about the man tugged at his memory, but he couldn't place it. He forced his voice steady.
What in the bloody hell were those things?
The stranger chuckled.
The Whispering Choir. Fanatics of the One, twisted into eternal servants for his eternal choir. Their song can freeze the blood of an ice yeti.
He looked Sang over with surprising concern.
You all right, Sang? I saw that thing grip your heart.
Sang shuddered.
I've been dead nearly 100 years, and I've never felt that close to dying again. If I never see one of those things again, it'll be too soon. Why are they here? Why did they attack me? And who are you? And how do you know my name?
Sang blurted out frantically. The vampire sheathed his daggers and gave a small, knowing smile.
I'll answer all of that, but not here. It isn't safe. Come with me to Silverlight Basin. It's an hour outside the village, but we can cut that time down a lot in our bat forms. It's quiet and secure.
Sang started to nod, then froze.
Fenric, I have to tell him.
No time.
The stranger cut in.
Your friend looked perfectly content drinking himself stupid. He'll be occupied long enough for us to go and return.
Sang didn't understand any of this, but he wanted answers. He nodded reluctantly.
Fine. Lead the way.
They dashed off with vampiric speed, silent as shadows. Once they reached the edge of town, the stranger spoke again.
You can shift into a bat, correct?
Of course,
Sang replied.
Wouldn't be much of a vampire if I couldn't.
Based on the condition I found you in, I wasn't sure you were much of a vampire at all.
The stranger shot back. Before Sang could retort, the man shifted, shrinking, twisting, wings unfurling, until a bat took flight toward the lake. Sang followed, his body compressing into a leathery winged form, vision shifting from sight to echo. In minutes, they reached the lake's border and landed, returning to their vampiric shapes. Sang finally got a good look at his rescuer. His eyes had no color at all, just pure black voids, empty and depthless. Sang's sense of familiarity sharpened, but he still couldn't place him.
I imagine you have questions,
the stranger said, reading Sang's expression with ease.
Let's start with the basics. Then you can ask yours.
He bowed low.
I am Kaled, a humble servant of your father, the king.
Kaled,
Sang repeated.
I've never heard of anyone by that name. And you serve my father?
I wouldn't expect you to know me, Prince,
Kaled replied.
I'm one of your father's elite spies, the Crimson Stalkers, a secret sect he formed millennia ago to keep order and maintain peace. I haven't been in the sect as long as some, but long enough.
Sang raised an eyebrow.
I think my father would have told me, of all people, about a secret sect of spies protecting the kingdom.
Would he now? Kaled retorted. Tell me, Sang, how often does Daddy let you leave the castle?
Sang narrowed his eyes, already seeing where this was going.
Exactly.
Kaled continued with a devilish grin.
If you're not even allowed to leave on your own, why would he tell you how he runs the kingdom? No, my prince. You've been Daddy's sheltered little boy your whole widow vampire life.
The mocking tone made Sang bristle.
Listen, Kaled, I appreciate the help, but if this is just going to be a session of trading insults, I'll go find someone who can actually help me.
Oh, I can help,
Kaled hissed.
I just needed you to know who I am and who I serve. Now that the formalities are done, let's catch you up on tonight.
Sang nodded stiffly.
First,
Caelid said.
I've been following you since the Sorrow Pine Forest. And those things have been following you since the Sorrow Pine Forest.
The Whispering Choir.
Sang muttered.
That's the one,
Caelid said with dripping sarcasm.
You catch on fast, my prince.
He paced theatrically.
So, we know what they are. But what we don't know is who is performing the ritual to turn them into creatures of death. Any guesses?
Sang didn't answer. Caelid clearly wanted to reveal it himself.
Fine,
Caelid said, voice growing manic. He skipped to a nearby rock, spun, and landed atop it with arms outstretched.
Who in this town is a powerful spellcaster who recently had a very powerful spellbook go missing?
Sang's eyes widened.
You mean Archmage Zane?
Yes!
Caelid squealed, dropping into a seated pose on the rock, chin resting on his hand.
So, the book is missing. These things are appearing. And...
Just say it.
Sang groaned.
You're no fun.
Caelid pouted.
Anyway, it's unlikely the Archmage himself is responsible. He covets that book more than his unlife. So someone else must be behind this. Someone tied to the church.
That makes no sense.
Sang argued.
Why would anyone in the Church of the One, the very entity who blessed us, want to tamper with the veil?
Why indeed?
Caelid said, picking at his teeth with a stick he found on the ground.
So it was you who threw the rock through the window?
Sang reasoned.
The one and only.
Caelid replied with a salute.
At your service, Your Majesty.
You're energetic.
Sang muttered.
I don't get much interaction living in the shadows.
Caelid said with genuine delight.
So when I do, I get a little carried away.
Fine.
Sang sighed.
What's the next step? Where do we look?
Caelid tapped his chin dramatically.
I'd say, check the Church of the One for clues.
He grew serious.
I can't travel with you openly, but I'll be watching your progress. My presence must remain secret, even from Fenric. If anyone knows I'm here, it could jeopardize my entire mission.
So I can't tell Fenric I was attacked and saved by a secret spy of my father's, working a secret mission to stop secret threats.
Sang said dryly.
I think I'm fine with that.
Caelid's smile softened, shifting into something somber.
All right then. Let's part ways until next we meet. You won't be able to contact me, but I'll always be keeping an eye on you. If you find any clues, leave a stone with a note tied around it in the town square. At the base of the statue dedicated to the One, there's a loose stone my network uses to communicate. Pull it out and slide your message inside.
He bowed with unexpected grace.
Until next we meet, my prince.
A swirl of dark energy wrapped around him, and before Sang's very eyes, Caelid vanished.
Spooky.
Sang muttered.
Time to get back to Fenric. I'm guessing he's done trading stories by now. He's going to scold me. I just know it.
He then shifted back into his bat form and soared toward Crimson Hollow. From above, the kingdom looked truly enchanting. Moonlight danced across Silverlight Basin, turning the water into a shimmering sheet of silver. The village ahead glowed with tranquil life, floating fireflies, warm lamplight, torches and braziers flickering gently through the night. Then a thought struck him. How was he seeing any of this? As a bat, he was usually as blind as the stereotype suggested, but tonight, everything was clear, crisp, beautiful. A new evolution of his vampiric gifts, perhaps? He'd noticed over the years that the more he used his powers, the more they grew and shifted. Whatever this was, he welcomed it. Up here, he felt free of duty, free of expectations, free of the weight he carried, even if he rarely admitted it. He wasn't a prisoner in the castle, not truly, but sometimes it felt close. Sang spotted the Redcap's boots and swooped low, gliding past a window. He shifted back into his old man disguise and slipped inside. An obviously furious Fenric stood waiting.
"What in the hell were you thinking, boy?"
he growled.
"I'm charged with protecting you, keeping you from harm. And you think what? That it doesn't apply because you're a prince?"
He stalked towards Sang, bristling.
"If I ever catch you sneaking off alone because some stranger left you a note..."
He stopped himself, breathing deeply. He took a moment to compose himself. Sang stood and waited in ashamed silence.
"In any case, I'm glad you're safe. What was it about? I hope it was worth you risking that empty head of yours."
Sang hesitated, deciding what to share. He would tell the truth, just not every detail.
I met an agent who works for Father. A spy.
"Who?"
Fenric asked incredulously.
Someone from the Crimson Stalkers. Ever heard of them?
"Yes, I have.
Fenric snorted.
An underground network your father uses to keep the kingdom safe. He's relied on them for millennia."
That's what he said.
Sang replied.
He pointed me in a direction, though it still doesn't make much sense. But I'll tell you what happened.
Sang recounted the night, the whispering choir, the ambush, the rescue, and the accusations against the Church of the One. He kept Caelad's name out of it, as promised. Fenric huffed.
"You're lucky to be alive, boy. Whoever your rescuer was, I owe him a drink."
His expression darkened.
"But this whispering choir, that concerns me. I can't believe the One would send creatures like that after us. After you. It reeks of intrigue."
He scratched his mutton chops.
"Anyway, we won't learn more tonight. Let's rest and pick up the trail in the morning. He said to go to the church, but I think we should visit Zane first. See what really happened."
Sang nodded.
Sounds good to me, old man.
He glanced around.
Ah, the rooms come with a coffin. How thoughtful.
Fenric barked a laugh.
"It's a village for monsters, numbskull. Of course they cater to your kind."
Always with the barbs.
Sang teased.
"Someone's gotta keep you sharp,"
Fenric shot back. With that, they settled in. Sang climbed into the padded coffin against the wall, closing the lid over himself. Fenric collapsed onto the bed with a sigh. Sang lay still, eyes drifting shut as he wondered what tomorrow's horizon would bring.